Darth Vader. Terrifying, ruthless, and one of the most brutal Sith Lords that we've seen in Star Wars. But what if I told you there was actually something that terrified him? A clone order designed by Palpatine that shook him to his core. In this video, we're going to reveal what this clone order was, how it was different from Order 66, and most of all, why Vader was terrified of it. So let's get right into it. In Revenge of the Sith, we witnessed Order 66 and how that order was designed to turn the clones against the Jedi. As we saw, the clones gunned down the Jedi without mercy, killing the very people they served alongside for years and even once called friends. This was all because of the inhibitor chips inside the clones' heads, as these chips completely overrode their free will and turned them into totally different people. However, Order 66 wasn't the only order that Palpatine created. There were actually tons of others, and while we only know a few of them, it said that there were a total of 150 of them. Or at least that's what we thought. On top of these 150 orders, there was actually one more clone order that was made after Palpatine became the Emperor. However, this one targeted one person and one person only: Darth Vader. The worst part is, Vader actually did some digging and learned all about Palpatine's plan with this order, and when he did, it struck him to his core. So, let's dive into how this happened. Our story begins just about 4 months after Revenge of the Sith. Vader was still adjusting to his new life each and every day, and now he went to go visit his master to speak with him. During their conversation, they spoke about a few things, but one of the things Palpatine mentioned was how obsessed Vader was in finding Jedi. A bit too obsessed. So, during their talk, Palpatine snapped.
I have warned you before about your preoccupation with surviving Jedi. The order is broken, Lord Vader. You mustn't expend your energy chasing rumors. And should any Jedi attempt to raise a hand against us, I have already set in motion a plan to deal with them.
Vader went silent. A plan? Does that plan include him, he thought to himself?
You are needed on Bendomir. The Ionite miners there are refusing to honor their contracts with the Empire.
Vader was disappointed. I guess Palpatine's plans didn't include him. He felt conflicted. However, with that, Palpatine dismissed Vader, and Vader went to go visit the planet of Bandamir. In time, Vader arrived on Bandamir and watched as many of his clone troopers rounded up some miners on the planet. However, as he stood there, he was preoccupied. Just days ago, Palpatine said that he had a motion plan, and for the first time ever, Vader lacked trust in his master. If he had such a strong plan in place, then why would he send his most loyal enforcer on such a pointless mission? Any commander could be here and deal with this, but instead, Palpatine sent him. Why? Not only that, but he was also confused as to why Palpatine wouldn't share the details of his plan with him. It made him think that maybe he was plotting something to go against him, to take him out of the picture. So, as Vader now stood alongside one of his commanders named Bill, he tried to get some answers.
Commander Bill, I have a question. I require a truthful answer.
Of course, sir.
The Emperor foresaw that the Jedi would attempt to thwart his move to consolidate the Republic into an empire. He prepared you. Prepared all the clones by indoctrinating you with instructions for Order 66.
Vader paused.
Yes, sir.
Have you been indoctrinated with a similar order to attack me if the Emperor so commands?
Sir, even if there was such an order, I do not have the authority to divulge the...
Bill's answer was as good as confirmation. However, Vader knew his question would be directly reported to Palpatine, so he knew what he had to do. In one swift motion, Vader then force-pushed Bill down the cliff. At that moment, Bill was dead and Vader stood there speechless. Bill's answer gave him everything he had to know. Clearly, Palpatine created an order to attack and perhaps even kill Vader if commanded. Treachery was truly the way of the Sith.
Sir, what happened to Commander Bill?
He stumbled and fell.
At that moment, Vader realized that the clones he fought beside for so many years were not just programmed to kill the Jedi. Instead, these clones were meant to eliminate any threat to Palpatine, even if it meant him. Although Vader had so much respect for these clones for their loyalty, he not only felt fear in this moment, but also betrayal. The same betrayal he felt when the Jedi turned their backs on him all those years ago. However, even more than that, he felt the most betrayal by his master, Palpatine. With that, Vader learned about this secret clone order, and ever since that day, his relationship with Palpatine was never the same. Now, like we mentioned earlier, the clones technically only had 150 orders programmed within them, so this one is definitely more of a top secret one. Because of this, many call this one Order 151. In it, this would then basically order the clones to kill Vader on sight if ever needed. We can only assume that Palpatine created this in case Vader ever tried to overthrow him for some reason. In a way, it kind of makes sense, because according to the Sith rule, the apprentice always tries to overthrow the master at some point or another. Usually that's just the natural order of things, but Palpatine being Palpatine, he wanted full control. He was obsessed with power and living as long as he could, so he couldn't bear the thought of Vader overthrowing him and being successful. By creating Order 151, it would prevent that and always ensure that Vader was beneath him. Before, Vader had a solid relationship with his clones, but by him learning about Order 151, his guard had to be up more than ever. He had to stay cautious. He had to be aware of everything. Any moment, his own troopers could strike if Order 151 was executed, and so it was up to him to always be on alert. Aside from this order though, there were a few other ways that Palpatine plotted against Vader. A big example was his suit. In case Vader ever tried to kill Palpatine, there were designs in his suit that made him vulnerable to Force lightning. That's a huge reason why we see Palpatine fry him so easily in Return of the Jedi, since Palpatine designed his suit in case he ever tried to overthrow him. On top of the suit though, Palpatine also made sure that even Vader's personal guards were never truly on his side. Inside Vader's castle, Palpatine kept some of his royal guards stationed there, purely to keep an eye on Vader in case he ever tried to do anything. Just like Order 151, Vader also found out about this, and well, it definitely affected their relationship. He couldn't even sit inside his bacta tank in peace without being spied on, all because of Palpatine. In the end though, Palpatine's greed for power was what really destroyed the Sith. As we mentioned earlier, the apprentice was always supposed to become strong enough to one day defeat the master. This was set in place to make sure the Sith only became more powerful as the years went on. However, because Palpatine wanted full control himself, he refused to let this happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if he set even more plans in motion to keep Vader below him. Although Vader never actively planned to kill Palpatine in the beginning, Order 151 was really just the start of their relationship crumbling. Palpatine held them back, and just like Maul and Dooku, Vader was nothing more than a tool to him. Luckily though, Vader eventually broke free from these chains, but sadly it took 20 years to do so, and those years were spent each and every day in pain, suffering, and misery. But with that, that concludes everything about Order 151 and why Vader was truly terrified of it. But I want to know from you, besides Order 151, how many more secret clone orders do you think Palpatine put in place? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.